10 minutes late. Humboldt County time, right? I had to restart my computer. I don't even know if this internet's going to work too good today, but I'm going to give it a go. Going to check my site over here, make sure that I am on, and get started. Today, I was really excited. Yesterday, I watched a video by one of our Liberty Warrior women. Actually, I watched a couple. I watched one from Scat Warrior too, and I shared that with you all, that she had found the Chrome's original definition, Adrena and then Chrome. So, and today I want to share another sister from Liberty Warrior channel, and her title on the show is Shepherd of the Forest. And her name is Tracy. And I watched her on Mandy's show. Looks like Mandy's on right now, possibly. But I wanted to share this one with you guys because a lot of people are talking about Nesara, and a lot of people don't know what Nesara is. And I certainly didn't really. I've heard the juicy details of Nesara, of what could be coming down the pike, which probably wouldn't be a great thing for the country if everybody got suddenly super rich. It sounds good. But I wanted to play her video because she really does a good job. She reads this report, or it's from a book, or I wasn't sure if I thought at first they said she wrote the book, but I think she's read the book. So this is Mandy, and she is the Awaken Patriot, Liberty Warrior, and the woman I'm gonna share with you. Hey, good morning, Robert, is Tracy. So if you watch this, which I think you said you did, and you probably know all about it, so it's probably boring, but I started watching the video you sent me last night, and I watched some of it this morning. Very cool. Very cool. So I definitely want to talk to you some more about your sources and stuff like that, and get some more good sources. So I'm going to play this for you. Might speed it up a little bit, so it's not, I like to listen to things on fast speed. Oh, I think I muted it, so let's turn it back on.
I hope everybody had a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Father's Day.
And
celebrate dads in our lives.
She might get a little clicky.
The dads.
I'm not sure.
They got to have a day too, right? Feed them, buy them underwear, whatever. Just love them. Make a day about them. Mine went golfing.
She gets into it quick here with Tracy. So
today's show is going to be, I titled it, What the Heck is Nesara? I still am kind of, I don't know what it is. I don't know. So we have Shepherd of the Forest, Miss Tracy, who is reading books on what the heck this is, and maybe she will be able to fill us in a bit on some information about what it is. So I'm going to bring her on and introduce her, and we're going to see. We got 4 people in the chat right now. I'm not seeing any chat. So
there's Tracy.
So good morning.
Good morning, Mandy. How are you this morning?
Wonderful. You're such a peach. Thank you so much. We were on there for about 15 minutes catching up and getting to know each other a little bit and talking to each other. And I so appreciate Beta 34. It's got a touch system.
Well, I have some information. I'm definitely not an expert, but I've got a book.
And that's further than I've gotten. That's further than I've gotten. Yeah. Morning, Beta 34. It's got a ton of questions to go along with this system. Yeah, I hear so many different things. I hear so many different things about what it is. Like it's, it's just going to be just money galore, and everybody's going to be millionaires, and then, and I'm just, trying to wrap my head all of it.
I hope so. I hope we're all going to be zillionaires. Wouldn't that be nice?
I would just like my house paid off.
That would be nice.
I don't got to be a millionaire. I just, if I didn't have the house payment anymore, I would be the happiest girl in the land. Yeah, Philo Beto says, I've read a lot about it, but it's confusing.
Very.
Is it confusing to you as well?
Yes, it's very confusing.
See, and it bothers me. It's like, what the hell are we walking into?
First of all, do you know what Nesara means?
I do not. That's ooh.
Okay. So let's start there. Nesara is an acronym, and it's stands for National Economic Security and Reformation Act. So when you see act at the end of usually to me it means it's a law. So it is a law.
So it's Nesara Act?
No, the last letter of the acronym is A, which is act.
Okay, so Economic
Security and Reformation Act. And
Okay.
in 1978, I'm going to go back to way before the act actually came into effect. But in 1978, a rancher in Colorado purchased a farm with a loan from the federal bank, land bank. And then he died, and his son was named the beneficiary of his ranch in his will. Little did he know that the father had signed a stipulation in the contract that the property would go back to the bank at the time of his death. So at that time, the son, who was military, he was a general, he filed a lawsuit in the federal court in Colorado, and it was dismissed because it was filed incorrectly. So there you go.
Of course, right. Of course.
Then in 1982, his son, his name is Roy Swashinger. He was given a contract by the U.S. Senate and later the Supreme Court to investigate banking, I'll say the F word, irregularities.
Okay.
And then in the late, let's see, it didn't go very far. So he filed an appeal in 87. And as it turns out, he also just had Collins at a restaurant. And he was sitting at a table and there was a couple next to him where he overheard their lawyer saying that he wasn't going to represent them anymore. And so he popped into their conversation and they helped him to file an appeal, bankruptcy. It was a bankruptcy case in Colorado. So on December 3rd of 88, the federal court system ruled that the banks had indeed effed the couple that he had seen in the restaurant. That was the Baskervilles, and they proceeded to reverse their bankruptcy proceedings. And what happened was that they filed a class action lawsuit because there were eventually 23 other farmers and ranchers and Indians all swindled by the bank in the same way, and they were being foreclosed on. So some of the things they were being foreclosed on was permanent interest, illegal foreclosures, applying credit mortgage payments to their account, or applying mortgage payments to their account, payments for themselves, and that would trigger the foreclosure. This kept going on and on, back and forth, and then according to federal land bank charter, that this was the bank that had foreclosed, they are not allowed to make loans directly to applicants. So when banks originally they have a charter and there's these regulations that they're follow. And according to their 1933 charter, they're not allowed to make loans directly to applicants. They could only back loans as a guarantee in case of default. So they were loaning the money to this farmer directly, and the federal land bank, in their charter, they weren't allowed to do that. So the word of the lawsuit began to spread, and that was in the 80s. And if you'll remember, Willie Nelson had his Farm Aid concerts. And so I'm just going to read this little excerpt from Willie Nelson. This whole thing started in agricultural collapse. The housing thing came second. Gee, I've been in Farm Aid a long time, and I've been seeing farmers leave the farm. There were 8 million family farms, and now there's less than 2 million, losing 300 to 500 a week. The reason they're going is because they're going out and taking the land back, and now they're taking the houses back that they stole. I mean, they told the farmers to plant these fence posts to fence, take care of you, buddy. We'll loan him the money, more than he could pay back, and he was losing his farm. The same thing happened to the owners, loan more money than that he could pay back, and the next thing you know, the government got all the land and all the money, and gave us assholes $6 or $7 more billion. We just gave them $6 or $7 more billion. So the Baskerville case was about a house, and the first case was about a farm. So altogether, it had the farmers' claims class action lawsuit. And according to the National Bank Banking Act, all banks are required to register Federal and State Bureau of Records, but none of the banks had complied, allowing the legal team to sue the farmer credit system.
Wow.
So then, in the 1990s, it was
Uh-oh. I lost. I was afraid of that.
I believe, of $20 million per person that was
Darn it.
included in the class action.
Sorry, hold
But-
on. So I just connected it to my husband's computer and now I've lost my screen. I'm sorry, you guys. Get my battery because we are on low back.
There was a gag order. I'm trying to find the spot where I marked it.
The gag order docs.
Yes.
Don't tell me what happened.
Do not talk about this. So, let's see. Let me just go to this part. According to the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, all present and succeeding debt against the U.S. Treasury must be assumed by the Federal Reserve. The farmers' legal team was able to use the executive order not only to force the Federal Reserve to pay the damages in gold-backed currency, but to allow them to receive legal ownership over the bankruptcy of the United States, Inc. And to collect the damages, the farmers' legal team used an obscure attachment to the 14th Amendment. See, it gets so confusing, right?
They're good at doing things, working it just right. It sounds good or whatever, and you're like, I don't even know what the hell that means.
Okay, so I'm going to go back a little bit. This goes back to the Organic Act. Everybody talks about this. The Organic Act of 1871 and the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1933, which defines all citizens as enemy combatants under the federal system known as the United States.
Say that again?
Sorry. This goes back to the Organic Act of 1871 and the Trading with the Enemy Act of 1933, which defines all citizens as enemy combatants under the federal system known as the United States. And that's in caps because it's a corporation.
What in the actual, wow.
So President Ulysses S. Grant had this attachment sealed from public eyes, but somehow someone on the farmers' legal team got a hold of it. If you listen to that carefully, it specifies damages by a foreign government. That foreign government is the corporate federal government, which has been masquerading to the public as the constitutional government.
Wow.
So
that's crazy. Okay.
Okay.
Good morning, Don Miller. Good morning. We are talking about Nesara. What is Nesara? And our wonderful shepherd of the forest, Tracy, is here, and she's read a book, and she's kind of breaking it down for us so that we can. We're slowly working our way in from the beginning of this information. So that's where your social security numbers come into play that own you. Yeah, I kind of read that, deplorable chicken hen. I read that. Yes, and your corporation name.
Okay, so here's the part where the legal team, they finally settled on a figure with the federal government that each individual would receive an average of $20 million. And there were a total of 336,000 claims, and they were filed against the U.S. government.
Watch out, Libby.
And the total payout came to $6.6 trillion. Now listen to this. The U.S. Supreme Court placed a gag order on the case and struck all information from the Federal Registry and placed all the records in the Supreme Court files up to that point. Senator Sam Nunn kept the Baskerville court case within his office. The settlement was agreed out of court and the decision was sealed by Attorney General Janet Reno.
I never liked her.
Well, you're going to have to hear this. I was surprised to see.
Good morning, Tim Johnson.
It was a good one, surprisingly.
I have to find my battery.
This is crazy. In 1991, the General Roy, the son of the farmer, his name was, I can never say it correctly, Swashinger, went back to the Senate committee to present evidence of the bank and the government's criminal activity. And he informed them how the corporation of the United States was tied to the establishment of the New World Order, which would bring about a fascist one world government ruled by international bankers. My mouth just, yeah.
Holy crap.
So in 1992, a task force was put together,
I love
and it
Mandy.
consisted of 300 retired and 35 active military officers who strongly support constitutional law. And then it named some of them. And
Paula Ward, good afternoon. We're talking about Nesara. She's breaking it down for us. So
She's getting a little
and
clicky,
they
but
uncovered this
it's
task
so
force
good
of,
information. I hope you like it.
335 military. They uncovered the common practice of bribery and extortion committed by both senators and judges. And then every
Good morning,
single
Robert.
member of Congress is impeachable for having abdicated their Article 1 responsibilities
Oh.
under the Constitution and serving as foot soldiers for the president and his vice president. The criminal activity was so rampant that only 2 out of 535 men were deemed honest. And more importantly, they carried out the first ever audit of the Federal Reserve. After reviewing their files, they found $800 trillion sitting in their accounts, which should have been applied to the national debt. And contrary to federal government propaganda, they also discovered the fact that nations owed money to the United States instead of the other way around.
Good.
All right, so interesting. These hidden trillions were then confiscated and placed into European accounts in order to generate the enormous funds needed to pay the farmer claims. Later, the money would become the basis for the prosperity programs. And despite these death blows, President George H.W. Bush, the old guy, and the Illuminati continued on their plan of global enslavement. We have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the United Nations founders. And that was a quote from George Bush Sr.
wow.
So in 92, the military officers confronted the president, and he pretended to cooperate, and he secretly planned to bring about the New World Order anyway. He signed executive order, doesn't have the number. It was December 25th, 1992. That would have in effect closed all banks, giving Bush the executive or the excuse to clear martial law. And under the chaos of martial law, Bush intended to install a new constitution would have kept everyone that was in office at the time in the same position for 25 years. I don't know how he thought he was going to pull that off. But the military intervened and they stopped Bush from
Doing that?
signing a military order. Yeah. And then
That's insane.
Janet Reno went. Trying to see where I got that. Janet Reno is the person that went and got a lot of the money back, or had it brought back. Then we go on to 1992, the first Clinton administration. The military delayed many of Clinton's federal appointments until they were sure that these federal individuals would help restore constitutional law. One such individual who promised to bring about the necessary changes was Attorney General Janet Reno. And what she said was, if Bill, I think this name is wrong, I don't recall it, but maybe someone else would know. If Bill and Hillary Clinton come and tell Webb Hubbell to tell me to do something wrong, I'm going to say, well, tell him I'm not going to do it. And that was a quote from Janet Reno.
Wow. The horrible chicken head says, bastards, no other words. I'll never ever trust another politician I know that never did.
Yeah, for sure.
Now I know why. So
Papers,
Janet,
please.
she didn't
Papers.
like Clinton, right?
No, she did not. She was.
I was going to say, I was like in high school when all of this was going on. I was in high school, so I was in high school life.
I was in Hawaii. I was
Politics.
in Hawaii, not.
Living the dream, living life.
Yeah.
And
I love these ladies.
I do kind of remember that she didn't particularly like him.
This even gets better.
Okay.
About Janet Reno. So an agreement with the Supreme
I bet
Court
you know
ruling-
all about this,
in
Robert.
agreement with the Supreme Court ruling on June 3rd, 1993, Janet Reno ordered the Delta Force and Navy SEALs to Switzerland, England, and Israel to recapture trillions of dollars of gold stolen by the Federal Reserve System from the strategic gold reserves. And they cooperated because they were promised their debts owed to the United States would be canceled.
Right.
I'm sure they weren't. Anyway, so now it's safely stockpiled at the North American Aerospace Defense Command complex in Colorado Springs and 4 other repositories. And her actions so enraged the powers that be that it resulted in her death. That's right. She was then replaced with a clone. I'm like, what?
Clone stuff, you guys.
And this creature who was responsible for covering up the various claim scandals. Yep. Now, I know.
What? It's so hard for me to wrap my brain around this clone crap that I'm just like,
Me too.
but what the hell? I don't even think of all of it. But it sounds like this has been going on for a really long time, and they've been trying to fix it, and they've,
You're right.
ended the missionaries that are trying to make it happen. I think that's why I'm kind of in the space that I'm in right now, is they've been trying to expose this and protect us they've been trying to expose this for a long time, but people just keep getting killed off, and they're like, it ruins the plan.
That's right.
I think
That's right.
I think there's so much out now. Like, everybody's awake now. Like, not everybody, but there's so many people that are awake to all of
Not
it.
enough.
There's so much information that's out there. Like, it's almost like word vomit. Like, we got to get that information out fast, get people awake. People need to be talking about this. Like I said, you can't put it back in the box.
No.
So it's almost like a hopeful thing that we're going somewhere with this.
She wasn't the only one that says they cloned. They cloned the Secretary of Treasury, Robert Rubin, to keep him in line too.
That's so insane to me.
After that happened, it says that both of them were receiving their salaries from the International Monetary Fund as foreign agents and not from the U.S. Treasury. So,
Except the polar vertigo says, that tongue crap?
Mandy.
I don't get it.
Yeah, Philo Beta 44 says,
This
then
is
they did
almost
Waco
over.
and Ruby Ridge in Oklahoma. I absolutely.
This
all
really blew
the
me
shit
away
that we
the
have
other
seen.
day, so I wanted to share it with you guys.
Philo Beta 34, we've kind of watched some of the same stuff because, like any of those big events, people need to be looking at what was going on in the news right before that happened.
That's right. Oh,
right before that happened.
Wait till you hear this next.
Oh, Jesus.
God. So in 1993, the farmer claims process, they just renamed it and called it bank claims. And then between 91 and 96, the Supreme Court required that the U.S. citizens file their bank claims. And so in order to do this, they had to do it before 96 because they closed the process. And during the time, they had justices monitoring the rulings. I mean, they really just wanted to keep this down, under wraps. They felt like they had to do it in order to keep other nations from knowing what was going on. And so to implement the required changes, 5 justices spent years negotiating on the reformations on how they would reoccur. And eventually they settled on an agreement known as the Accords with the US government, Federal Reserve, the IMF, the World Bank, and numerous other countries, including the UK and countries of the Eurozone. Because these banking reformations would impact the entire world, the IMF, World Bank, and other countries had to be involved. The reformations required that the Federal Reserve be absorbed by the US Treasury Department. I think that's happened last year. And the bank's irregular activities must be stopped and payment must be paid for past harm. So that was in what, 96? So, okay, so what happened was in 98, the military generals who originally participated in the farm claims process realized that the US Supreme Court justices has no intentions of implementing those accords. So they decided that the only way to implement the reformation was to pass a law in Congress. So in 1999, a 75-page document known as the National Economic Security and Reformation Act, Nesara, was submitted to Congress, where it sat with little action for almost a year. Of course. Then, sorry about the plane.
No, go ahead. I'm reading things in the chat over here, and I'm trying to listen to you because it's good. So I'm not trying to ignore people in the chat. I mean, everybody's got things to say. I mean, it's
yes.
There's.
I'm seeing some of them here.
Yeah, people got things to say. Oh, Beta was like, Freemason protect each other. I know.
Oh, yes, they sure do.
About Freemasons, my grandfather was a 32nd degree Freemason degenerate.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to have a talk there, Mr. Philo. I'm assuming you're Philo Beta 34. Okay, I'm writing all your information down. Okay, continue. I'm not trying to ignore anybody and your information on here, but I'm seriously wanting to be educated on all of this.
So, in late one evening, in the dark of night, on March 9th, 2000, a written quorum call was hand-delivered to the 5 members of the U.S. Senate, and it was delivered by the Delta Force and Navy SEALs to 5 senators and the U.S. House, who were sponsors and co-sponsors of Nesara. They immediately were escorted by the Delta Force and Navy SEALs to their respective voting chambers, where they passed the National Economic Security and Reformation Act. These 5 members of Congress were the only people who were lawfully allowed to hold office in accordance with the original 13th Amendment. And that's because they were not lawyers and they didn't work for the crown. So anybody that's a lawyer works for the crown, Esquire. Remember, British soldiers destroyed copies of the Titles of Nobility Amendment in the War of 1812 because it prevented anyone who has ties with the Crown of England from holding office. So Nesara is the most groundbreaking reformation to sweep not only this country, but our planet and its entire history. The act does away with the Federal Reserve Bank, the IRS, the shadow government, and much, much more. And then there's a whole list of things that goes through. But before I do that, I'm going to, a whole list of things that Nesara will affect in our lives. And I'll do that at the end. But because, now this is another one. I'm like, what? Because President Clinton's clone had no interest in signing Nesara into law, on October 10th, 2000, under the orders of U.S. military generals, the elite Navy SEALs and Delta Force stormed the White House and then, at gunpoint, forced Bill Clinton to sign Nesara into law.
Sounds good,
You've
doesn't
probably
it?
never heard of this law due to the extremely strict gag order placed upon politicians, media personnel, and bank officers. Even though Alex Jones or Ron Paul will not tell you about it, the law is still valid, and the members of Congress will not tell us any of this because they have been ordered by the Supreme Court justices to deny the existence of Nesara or face charges of treason punishable by death. Some members of Congress have been actually charged with obstruction of justice.
Like now? Like we're talking about now? Like
well, from 2000, when Clinton was in office still.
Okay. No kidding.
But now it says this: you will never hear the media networks report about Nesara. To maintain silence, major news networks such as CNN are paid to the tune of $2 billion annually. Some of the loot is funneled by the Mormon Church in Utah through Senator Orrin Hatch's office and the Bank of America. Not only is Congress bribed, but the entire Joint Chiefs of Staff and the upper tier of the government, including the president himself, receive these payments as well. Only the provost marshal has the lawful authority to arrest these individuals, but sadly, he won't do his job either. It seems the U.S. military is full of pencil-pushing politicians who care more about their advancement than doing their jobs. And not surprisingly, much disinformation about Nesara is found, of course. So the law was signed into law, right? The clone or whoever, Bill Clinton, he signed it into law. But there was
This is the best part coming up here.
So the next step is to announce Nesara to the world. But it's not an easy task because they've been trying to implement or trying to stop the implementation of it.
So who was the first person that said this to us, the people? Like, who was the first person to say Nesara to all of us? Did it just sprout up?
It was after, yeah, it was, well, there's something in here about.
Was it like to hit our ears? Was it, somebody like,
it was more recent.
Juana Savin, or, did Trump actually say that at some point?
I had heard of it before.
I've never heard of it.
I would say
but I wasn't paying attention either.
Yeah, I don't know.
Same.
In Wikipedia, you can, there's a lot of disinformation. So this says that there's prominent naysayers about it, and they are a CIA front. So Nesara.org, that one's maintained by the Bush family. Or was.
Good morning, the spring roll. We're talking about Nesara. She's reading through kind of how it got started, how it's kind of worked through. We're gonna have to come up with a new name for the government. Like, we're gonna have to come up with a new term for them that suits them.
So now that it was enacted into law, it was supposed to be announced. The law of Nesara requires that at least once a year an effort is made to announce the law to the public. Three current, this was written in 2016, I think. So 3 current Supreme Court judges control the committee in charge of Nesara's announcement. These judges have used their overall authority to seek to sabotage its announcement. Okay, are you ready for this?
Insane.
Buckle up, buttercups, because here comes the big one.
Oh, Jesus, we're not even to the good stuff yet? Holy Lord. Okay. Hence 9/11? Yes, this spring roll. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct, 9/11. In 2001, after much negotiation, the Supreme Court ordered that all current Congress to pass resolutions approving Nesara. This took place on September 9th, 2001, 18 months after Nesara became law. So on September 10th, George Bush Sr. moved into the White House to steer his son on how to block the announcement. The next day, on September 11th, 2010, at 10 a.m., Alan Greenspan was scheduled to announce the new U.S. Treasury bank system, debt forgiveness for all U.S. citizens, and the abolishment of the IRS as the first part of the public announcement of Nesara. Just before the announcement at 10 p.m., Bush Sr. ordered the demolition of the World Trade Center to stop the international banking computers on floors 1 and 2 of the North Tower from initiating the new U.S. Treasury Bank system. Explosives in the World Trade Center were planted by the CIA, the Mossad operatives, and detonated remotely in Building 7, which was demolished later that day in order to cover up their crime.
Isn't that just amazing when you start realizing what 9/11 really was about? Does it just make you sick?
It makes me sick.
It just makes me sick. I watched all day.
It makes me so upset that I've read somewhere in one of these books that 75,000
Good morning,
people,
Sherry.
75,000 people actually died, and they're just gone. They're not recognized.
Without a give a shit in the world from these people.
And I think, what hurt their families? What happened to the 75,000 of families? Were they all paid off? I mean, I don't understand why none of these families, well, maybe they have come forward and we just don't know about it. You know, could be. But that's a lot of people, considering they said only 3,000 died.
Injustices make me absolute like that. You want to see me get fired up? This kind of stuff just gets me just fired up. That I just can't. It's horrifying and it just pisses me off. And they have to be stopped.
Yep.
It just has to be stopped. Angry, exactly. This journal says angry. Once people figure out the courts are fake, it's over for all Freemasons. And I get that the court system is fraudulent as shit. I get that. I think. Do you feel that way, Tracy? Do you feel that way? Like now you're starting to see like how corrupt it all is. I think we're all on the same page of seeing.
Oh my
like,
goodness!
It ain't adding up.
It's everywhere we turn, and it's so overwhelming because it's everywhere we turn. We have to take one agency at a time and blow it up.
All of it, yeah, all of it has to come down. I mean,
yeah,
it's just, and so everybody's patient with what's going on. Everybody's getting impatient, like we're waiting to see, like this is all going to happen. And it's like there is so much crap. These people that are fighting for us, there's so much that they have to clean up and take care of. I just have faith and know that they're doing their God. I hope they are really doing what they're saying they're doing for all of us, for humanity. Period.
Well, I'm going to read this next part, and I think, I mean, everything I've heard recently is happening according to this book. So it says that it's been going on for years, and that the only alternative is to kill the Federal Reserve System by force. The problem that George Bush and now Obama have threatened to use the US dollars as a weapon of mass destruction against nations of the world to comply with the New World Order agenda. The people will now suffer greatly, Bush said. The world cannot tolerate this. The dollar must be removed as the international world's currency and replaced with a new independent asset-based monetary unit backed by precious metals. And I think that's what's happening right now.
Right.
Russia,
everything.
Back to gold.
Everything we've known and lived our lives through, and just like all of it's been corrupted. So it's going to all have to be taken down and changed. This Paula, have faith. You say
so this is
it's going to be okay.
This is the next part where I think we're at right now. So this started in 2007. The U.S. Treasury Department went online with a new gold-backed banking system, but this gold banking system is not Basel III.
Still here?
That's
I haven't.
It's happening in Europe, and that every bank transaction must be disclosed on the balance sheet. If this were to happen, these banks would become insolvent overnight, and that's why they haven't done it, because they're using our mortgages as their assets, and that's not their assets.
Sure. Right, it's ours. Yeah, right. Yeah. If you know the handshakes, you just spot them. And I watched a big old thing. Mitch, I watched a big old thing on that, and it was sent to me by Robert, and like I said, I'm never going to sleep again. Like they're talking about Freemasons, the information about Freemasons and how it works, and their little handshakes and all this creepy stuff. And Robert Stiegel sent me this 5-hour long thing about this gentleman that was talking about all of it and kind of showing.
Whoops. Great. I just lost it. Sorry. Clicking around. It's almost over. I'm not going to play the part where she goes into all the benefits of Nesara because it's hopium. I don't know if that's true. So I don't really want to give hopium on this channel, but I do want to give information, and I wanted to know what Nesara is about, and she does the best breakdown of it.
To
So.
see, like, this is all going to happen. And it's like, there is
It's almost
so
over.
much crap.
I know
These
it's,
people that are fighting for us, there's so much
clicky,
that they have to clean up and take care of. I just have faith and know that they're doing their God, I hope they are really doing what they're saying they're doing for all of us, for humanity, period.
Well, I'm going to read this next part, and I think, I mean, everything I've heard recently is happening according to this book. So it says that it's been going on for years, and that the only alternative is to kill the Federal Reserve System by force. The problem that George Bush and now Obama have threatened to use the US dollars as a weapon of mass destruction against nations of the world to comply with the New World Order agenda. The people will now suffer greatly, Bush said. The world cannot tolerate this. The dollar must be removed as the international world's currency, mortgage as an asset to invest in other things. And that's a derivative. So they can't, they're not supposed to be using my asset as their asset, which they don't own, to do other things with it, to invest in other things. So I don't know if you heard of Basel III or Basel III. That's
I haven't.
It's happening in Europe, and that every bank transaction must be disclosed on the balance sheet. If this were to happen, these banks would become insolvent overnight. And that's why they haven't done it, because they're using our mortgages as their assets, and it's not their assets.
Sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, I fast forwarded that.
Yeah. If you know the handshakes, you just bought them and buy. Yeah, I watched a big old thing, Mitch. I watched a big old thing on that, and it was sent to me by Robert Siegel, and like I said, I'm never going to sleep again. Like they're talking about Freemasons, the information about Freemasons and how it works, and their little handshakes and all this creepy stuff. And Robert Siegel sent me this 5-hour long thing about this gentleman that was talking about all of it and kind of showing kind of within the entertainment industry and all of that, how many people are connected to all of this. And I was just like, I'm never going to be able to watch a movie ever again. I'm never going to be able to like music ever again, like you just do with my life.
I watch videos now to find out what comms are in them. What are they telling us this time?
Do you not watch shows and movies in a whole different way now? I do too. I'm just like, there's so much hidden shit, and is it really or is it not really? Like, are we just, do we think? But I do. I love movies, loved entertainment, and I've loved all that. I mean, I'm an actress. I love it, and now I love you, Robert Siegel, but you ruined it for me. You ruined it. Now I can never have entertainment ever again. I guess I'm gonna have entertainment because it just ruined it. Like, I'm never gonna sleep again. This is horrifying. Vermont Prepper. This is why I can't sleep.
Must have been the fall of the cabal.
I sleep well because I let it go at night. Like when I got everything that's important, I know exactly where it is. Everybody's safe. Everybody's good. I have no control over anything else that's going on in the world. I function better.
I take melatonin.
Yeah, I sleep well. I'm very, very blessed that I sleep well. And it's taken me a while to get to that place mentally in my world, but my mind doesn't race at night. When I go to bed, I know my husband, everybody's safe. I know everybody's where they need to be. Everything else can keep. I can't fix anything till the morning. So kind of keep that in mind when your brain's racing. You can't do anything about it at the moment. So just rest assured, sleep well. Okay, continue, because what you're saying is just unbelievable.
The Bush family was originally offered $300 trillion to cooperate, but they chose not to. So in the end, the Bush family will end up with nothing, it says. Yeah, they sure did, didn't they?
So do you think that's what it was all tied into with? No, I don't know if that's all true. The letters that they received at the funeral.
The letters, yeah, I think those letters.
Do you think
letting them know that he didn't die of natural causes and that he told everybody what they needed to know.
They know everything.
What it was, yeah. So before Nesara is announced to the public, it was stipulated that the original farmer claims first be paid out with a bullion-backed currency issued by the U.S. Treasury. In other words, they can't be paid by the Federal Reserve notes. So that's $6.6 trillion that they were to get in ATM debit cards. I don't understand that, but okay. It's been going on for years, and that's basically it. Now, what is
do you get to a point? Do you get to a point when they say 3 trillion or 40 billion? Does it just not even make any sense or give a shit anymore?
It doesn't make anything to me.
What's 3 trillion? Who gives it's just a word at this point in my mind. Like, it's just a word.
Okay, so I know it was a little clicky and I'm technically challenged and all that, but if you've been curious about Nesara at all, then you will probably bear through it because it's actually really good information that I didn't know and I wanted to know. And there's a whole book on it. And, you know, this stuff goes back to Willie Nelson days and Farm Aid and with 9/11 being tied into it, I think we should all know what this document is. I don't think there's a chance in hell we're going to get any of the money they say we are. It could be. I know a lot of people that really believe that, you know, are there. If you go look up Nesara, obviously not Nesara.com because she said that's run by the Bush family. But if you look up Nesara, you can see a whole list of dreamy promises that are going to be coming our way. And I'm not saying I don't believe that they've been documented, that's all been written, that's all happened. I just don't think we'll see it for ourselves. And if we did, I don't think it would be super great for our country for everybody to have their mortgages paid off and be given $500,000. I mean, it's stuff like that. It sounds like they intend to pay Americans back for all the criminal fraud that the bankers have done for the last 100 years or so. But like I said, I'm not going to be a hopium channel. I think that was a really educational video. If you want to catch the Awaken Patriot, Mandy, let me share this again. Mandy is on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays in the morning. She lives in Idaho, and I don't rightly know where Tracy lives. But Mandy is a straight shooter. She tells it like it is, and she has good information. She's been talking about Bundy lately, Eamon Bundy. You guys have probably heard of him. He was harassed big time by the feds out there for his cattle ranch, and he fought them. And anyway, so it's really fun to get information from all the different places, which is another reason why I'm hopping on and putting myself out there to be, you know, just giving information from Humboldt County. I'm sure there's people that have left Humboldt County that would like to know what's going on here. I've left Chicago, but I still like knowing what's going on there. I have a lot of family there. I like knowing what's going on all over the place. I like knowing where the states, that's what's really fun about America, isn't it? We have all these different states and we're supposed to be able to operate somewhat independently, but the federal government's got us under their thumb for sure. So I just have a couple more things I want to talk about. Yesterday, I was telling you guys about my son had us watch the show Out of the Shadows. And if you want to see it, again, I do have it on my website. I thought I had it all up here. And it's very educational from a man who was in Hollywood and he was a stunt actor and he got injured. And so after he was injured, he capacity in Hollywood and things. So Hilltop Workshops is my website. Right under home now, there's a tab called Buried News Videos. And the very beginning, I haven't put a new thing on here since May 13th, but I've been working on other websites. That's why there is still a lot of good information here. And this one is my favorite. I hate to call it a favorite because it's such a hard video to watch, but it's a very convincing video if you want to show somebody why they shouldn't take this. It's a great compilation of injuries and death. And this guy here, I wonder if this will play for me. This is a great one.
For 53
I really
years.
like this video.
And look at me now in the hospital with IVs, pneumonia, emphysema, collapsed lung. Doctor said I was down to 5% in one lung. You think it was COVID? No. I've been healthy for 53 years, and I'm as sick as I've ever been after wearing a mask for 13 months at work for 8 hours a day.
So that's on there. There's crimes against humanity, doctors' cases. There's a video in here of Mr. You know who Gates, and he's going through the why they want to do the mRNA vacation. So you can see in his own words what he talks about, why he wants to mess around with your DNA. I don't know where it is. It's in here somewhere. Unless they took it down and then I took it out, but it says it in his own words that they want to get rid of the fanaticals, the passionate religious people. I mean, you wouldn't believe it. It's really a crazy sick. It's right here. It's called Fun Vax. Maybe you never seen it, so I'll play it for you. Hopefully, I'll make sure I'm streaming. Yep. This is a great one. If you've never seen this before, this is
Excuse me, on the left over here, we have individuals who are religious fundamentalists, religious fanatics, and this is the expression, RT-PCR, real-time PCR expression of the VMAT2 gene. Over here, we have individuals. So let me complete. So over here, we have individuals who are not particularly fundamentalists, not particularly religious, and you can see there's a much reduced expression of this particular gene, the VMAT2 gene. Another evidence that supports our hypothesis for the development of this approach. What you see
here is by spreading this virus, we're going to eliminate individuals from donning on a bomb vest and going into a market and blowing up the bar.
So our hypothesis
in German,
is that
sorry.
these are fanatical people, that they have overexpression of the VMAT2 gene, and that by vaccinating them against this,
Fanatical
we'll
people, you
eliminate
guys.
this behavior.
They're going to eliminate
So
fanatical
we have
people, you
some
guys.
very,
Do you hear
very,
this? Do you
remarkable
hear
data in
this?
next
That's
slide.
your mRNA gene for you.
Here we have two brain scans. These are fMRIs. These are two different individuals with different levels of expression of VMAT2. On top is an individual who's a religious fanatic, an individual, and we've repeated this numerous times, that has high levels of VMAT2. Now, this individual down here who had low levels of the VMAT2 gene, this individual would self-describe as not particularly religious. In each case, these individuals were read a religious text. This individual lit up the right middle frontal gyrus, shown here, and that's a part of the brain that's associated with theory of mind. It's a part of the brain that has to do with intents and beliefs and desires. In marked contrast, here's an individual who would not particularly self-describe as religious, and when they're read a religious text, what you see is that this part of the brain called the anterior insula lights up. This is a part of the brain that's associated with disgust or displeasure on hearing something.
Are you suggesting I take a CT scan with me when I'm evaluating people to determine whether there's a bullet in their head?
So the data that I'm presenting here supports the concept that we're proposing, and I think that we would not propose to do CT scans or fMRIs on individuals out in the hinterlands of Afghanistan. The virus would immunize against this VMAT2 gene, and that would have the effect that you see here, which is it's essentially to turn a fanatic into a normal person. And we think that will have major effects in the Middle East.
How would you suggest that this is going to be dispersed? Show us how.
Well, so the present plan and the tests that we've done so far have used respiratory viruses, such as flu or rhinoviruses.
Interesting,
and
right?
we believe that that's a satisfactory way to get the exposure of the largest part of the population. Most of us, of course, have been exposed to both of those viruses. And we're quite confident that this will be a very successful approach.
This is fascinating. What's the name of this proposal?
Yeah, so the name of this project is FunVax, which is the vaccine for religious fundamentalism.
And you have a proposal already?
The proposal has just been submitted, and I think that the data that I have shown you today would support the development of this project, and we think it has great promise.
I think FunVax is something else. What do you think? Isn't that the mRNA gene, or isn't that what he's talking about there, Robert? Pretty sure that's what he's talking about, and video. I got Roberto and Robert in here. Is that right?
Well, let me ask you then something that you do have
Whoops.
oversight of
Let
as
me turn
president.
that off.
Should
So that was an interesting. I was going through my website because I wanted to show you the video. I was telling you that my son, I didn't finish the story last night, so I remembered I was telling you the story. I think you got the idea of it. When our son looked over at my hand and he's like, talked about this stuff, and I looked at him and said, well, why you didn't go trick-or-treating, right? And I really did see that light bulb moment in my son where I'm telling you, we were shamed. We were shamed for years because we wouldn't our kids trick-or-treating. And I've got lots of good close friends that I never shamed them for taking their kids trick-or-treating. But once you are opened to satanic occult practices, once your eyes are open to them, you're not going to partake in them. If you're wanting to avoid satanic practices, which I am. So it was really nice to get some vindication from my son, even though he was 22 years old or something. This was last year, so he's 23 years old, and my daughter and him excoriated us for not taking them trick-or-treating. And then they got to go one time because when they were, I think they were 7, and Melody was 7 and Isaiah was 9, and we got a couple foster kids. We had 2 daughters that are now in our lives still, and the older one is 21 and the younger one is 16, and their mama had taken them trick-or-treating. So they were well aware of trick-or-treating. So it would have been really mean to not let them go. But what we did was we went to our church and we went to the harvest party and we did the party there. And then I let them walk around the block there with us. So my children got to go trick-or-treating one time in their life. Yes, I'm that mom. I'm that horrible mom who told the kids that it was Satan's holiday. Actually, I didn't do that. I didn't tell him that, but I knew it because I'm not an idiot. I'm not going to celebrate darkness. I'm not going to celebrate witchcraft. I'm not going to celebrate spells and magic, and that's not me. If that's you, that's fine. You do you. I'm going to do me, because the thing I know is there's only one good spirit, and that's the Holy Spirit, and I don't want any other spirits around me or my family. So Halloween is not a holiday that I celebrate. I have before gone to parties. I went as like Mary Poppins one time, trying to fit in this world, trying to fit in this world and try to have fun with it. And I think you can celebrate Halloween I'm not saying if you celebrate Halloween, you're a Satanist. Okay. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying that when you're aware of a lot of the evil things that are going, it's not just black cats go missing. Okay. It's really easy to research and find out what Satanists do. It's really easy to find out what holidays they elevate. It's really easy to find those things out if you research, because the people that are in control of our mainstream media are those people. So they're censoring their own dark behaviors. I'm not going to tell you what they do in the dark. So anyway, the other thing is, we were vindicated on our Halloween child abuse. We were those parents. We just, no, you're going to church and you're going to enjoy the games that are here because it's way more fun and safe. And I never let my kids go off by themselves. We did as kids. I know me and all my cousins, we were tearing it up in the city, even in Chicago on the south side. Nowadays, are parents letting their kids go trick-or-treating on the south side of Chicago alone? Maybe some of them are like, bye, but it's just different times. That was a long time ago. I'm 50 years old now. So when I was trick-or-treating, there was still kids were getting abducted and things were happening, but I don't think it was as prevalent as today. And if it was, we were not aware of it. So the thing I have for our stand-up group today is, and then I could throw in this number if anybody wanted to call in. I'll put it in now. But the shared that our local ballpark, the Humboldt Crabs ballpark, is having, I don't know if it's their first game, but on July 2nd, I'll put it up here on the screen. On July 2nd, they're having an event that is at the ballpark. It is going to be for 20 ups. It's going to be another clinic, you guys, in Humboldt County. You know, you can't get a healthcare doctor hardly to save your life. You can't find a veterinarian if you're not a vet. But there's these little clinics that are popping up all over just so you can get this into your body. It's really starting to get on my nerves. This medical divide that we have here, because Humboldt County, I'm going to tell you something about Humboldt County. A lot of you know, not the kind of place that our wellness here is not shots and pills. Okay, we're not about here. Humboldt County is not about that. Humboldt County is about sun and fresh air and good food, organic food, healthy vitamins, good vitamins. I'm sorry to be scrolling this stuffy nuts too. Humboldt County has wellness people here that are just really not about conventional medicine. They're about homeopathic. Come on, thing. Oh my, sorry. That looks creepy, whatever that is. Okay, so I know it's down here. So the Crabs game, man, people have been posting. Stand Up Humboldt does have a QR reader. Let's go back to the, oh, here's something funny. If you get car sick like I do, don't watch me scroll, because I can't, you know, when you're going through Netflix and you're looking for movies and stuff, I cannot handle that. I get literally like car sick. So I'm sorry to do this to you with the scrolling, but I got pretty funny. Look at this, is disgusting. One of our members shared this with me. High school students marked with Sharpie based on stat. Like, yeah, all this work we did when I was a kid, we were doing a lot of racial injustice healing. There's our QR reader right there. We were doing a lot of not looking at people for the color of their skin, okay, and not segregating people, not discriminating on people. We were seeing people for who they were, because that's what we were taught. We were taught history. We were taught about Martin Luther King and his assassination and his peaceful movement. We were taught about a lot of things, and all of a sudden now we're taught that, you know, the government and businesses can tell you how to do your health, which is so not true. And that these type of things are really where it's at. Check this one out. This is really, let me make sure I'm streaming, share, commercial, only a minute long. I think you'll appreciate it.
So with other countries tapping into their net to inspire people to get vaccinated,
pretty much says it all.
It's time we had a truly Australian vaccination
Well, I want that
campaign.
little foosball table thing. That looks fun. You guys can call in. I put the link there if you want to call in.
Party like we used to.
I mean,
This ain't no barbecue. No chance of starting trouble. When you're stuck inside a bubble. We've been waiting for a guest like you. You're the life of the party. You give everyone a boost. Put your needle on our record so you can finally cut loose. So you may feel like a bit of a dick, but we say give the prick a go. Inject your mate and I'll have 8, 'cause normal's all we know. We Never wanna wash our hands again. We want to spit in each other's mouths again, just like we did before. Then we'll head next door and be the life of the party once more.
COVID vaccine.
Sorry. Oh,
The prick a go.
give the prick a go. So yeah, that was just too much for me. I had to share that one. I was looking for our crabs announcement. Let's see, I'll go to the media. I'm sorry about that. Oh, I did share this with my stream. For those of you who aren't on Facebook, this is my favorite one. This says it all, doesn't it? Don't you just love this one? I would walk around. I'd almost like to get a hat with this. I wear this every day in town. I just think that whoever came up with that is brilliant, and it's really just says it all. So, oh, we got an independent fact checker that somebody got in trouble. They probably took it down. Dang it. Yeah, okay, that wasn't me. But I shared a couple pictures of the crabs. Here it is. Here they are. Oh no, I'm sorry. That's the same propaganda look though, because that's that blue and white. And if you watched yesterday's stream that I did, I shared the public health officer. I don't know why our pictures aren't here. Humboldt County was saying that, you know, we're going to wear these things forever. And I forgot what I was saying, but they're going to push it on the businesses to do. Okay. The businesses are going to be the ones that they're going to try to get to be saying, papers, please. Papers, please. Show us your papers. What is wrong with people? I didn't think I was going to get on here and be angry. But, you know, when I watch this Humboldt County stuff, it just breaks my heart. It's like, this is not Humboldt County. We're not about this stuff. We're not about this nonsense. We are about freedom, and we are about being free here. So I don't know who all these posers are. They all came up from San Francisco, LA, whatever. I came from Chicago too, but you know what? I acclimated and I embraced Humboldt County because I liked it here. And I didn't think that I needed to bring Chicago politics here by any means. I couldn't wait to get out of there. I mean, I love my family. I love the city. It's a great city. I've gone back there as an adult and had more money than I used to have growing up. It's really free when you're growing up. Well, maybe it's been taken off. Elaine probably had to take it off because that's how it is. The stuff is censored, and they don't want us to see everything. They only want us to see what they want us to see. And that's exactly why I'm doing the stream, because forget them. They're not going to win, you guys. They're not going to win. We're not going to be censored here in Humboldt County. We're too intelligent for that. Our motto here for years and decades was U.S. out of Humboldt County. We want better for ourselves here. We don't want to be governed by the likes of Newsom. I saw this morning there was something about his recall. So I don't know. It looks like there might be something good happening. I hope. I'm trying to get my photos up because I really wanted to share that thing with you. Because my husband told me this morning when I got up that he called the ballpark himself and he gave them hell. And that was all I was going to do, was show you the picture of it and encourage you all to call the ballpark, call the Humboldt County Crabs ballpark and give them hell for making it like a party for 12-year-olds to get this experimental, FDA experimentally approved only. People do not know. They are lying to us with verbiage and words. Mandates, guidelines, and orders, and executive orders are not laws. And they cannot trump legislative codes and laws that have been on the books for years. One individual does not get to come along in America and sign a piece of paper and take all our rights away. That is not how it works. But a lot of people have certainly given them away, haven't they? That is what is working for the corrupt people. That's what works for them. They lie to us. They manipulate us. Look up Operation Mockingbird. Look up Operation Paperclip. Look up mind control by the government. Look it up by the media, not on Google. You got to go to the other places. DuckDuckGo. You got to go to BitChute and Rumble. Yes, they've been given stigmas and conspiracy theory labels, but it's uncensored information. Don't you want that? Don't you want unfiltered information from your government? Or do you really want it sugar-coated and polished and given to you in a pretty little perfect plastic box? These people are bots. They're literally like bots. I want to know the Constitution. And it is one of the coolest places to live. It is absolutely one of the coolest places to live. There's no better place to live. These people that left and went everywhere else, oops, I didn't even know I could do that. I mean, they don't even, they miss it here. I mean, there's no way. I know people went to Idaho and stuff. You guys got a 4-month growing season in Idaho. I'm sorry, but I can grow up here all year long stuff, especially with a greenhouse. I mean, for the fighters that are looking for somewhere to help America, California is the test lab. It's the test lab. It starts here and then it goes across the nation. So we need the fighters to come here because the non-fighters are here and leaving. And there's a few of us, very, very few of us. And, we still have a foundation to work with. We still have a ability to fight. We're not out of this game yet, but my gosh, we're so teetering on the edge of losing everything. Papers, please. Papers, please. My gosh, people, I got mocked so bad by my friend and boss at the preschool for putting up something about this being anything near what they went through in Nazi Germany. And, when you're refused your groceries, you could starve to death. So yeah, could I put the mask on and suffer through a panic attack and just conform like everybody else did so they could get their groceries? Not everybody else, of course, everybody else didn't do that, but like the conformers. I'm going to get I'm not good. Yeah, I'm not sure. Again, the mantra for Stand Up Humble is we're not going to waste our time, with any of the energy fighting what is, not saying that you are, but just saying the other way to say it is I'm immunized, right? I'm healthy. When people say to me, oh, did you get your blah, blah, blah? No, I didn't, because I'm healthy. And I don't need that blah, 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 because the government doesn't own my body. The government ain't in charge of Deanna Hardwick. Okay? My phone is. But I got to take this call, you guys, because my I'll have to call him right back. But my husband's little doggy was in the vet, and it could be bad news. I'm not really sure, but I want to be able to talk to my husband right now. So I'm going to cut the stream short. I might come back on. Love you guys. I probably will come back on. I'd like to see if anyone wants to call in, but I had more things to share, but I really got to take my husband's call right now. So I'll see you guys later.